Greetings, groovy people. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back. I'm the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon. I want to welcome any new subscribers and old ones back. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I have a little less energy this week because I've been working on the Q&A, and I was finally starting to tackle the Q&A question that I got back in January regarding how do I make videos, how do I edit them. And it ended up, of course, taking longer than I thought, and therefore I'm just doing a different Q&A video. That video is only going to focus on a single question, so this one is going to be a little quicker because I'm not doing like a tutorial or showing you step by step what I do. I'm just going to kind of be off the cuff answering questions. And then in June I'll have the answer patron. Thank you for your patience, but I really was intending to do it this month. And it's just taking way too long because I'm putting a lot of effort into it. Not that I'm not putting effort into these other answers, but, you know, sometimes questions don't take a lot of time and energy to answer, and other times they do. So, in the background, you guys have seen this art before if you've been watching my videos. This is the cover for Christina Cool, my submission to the Not Safe for Work Psychedelica Comic Theory Zine for summer of 2023. But what I'm doing is I'm going to be having an extended version that is the actual full story that's unabridged, and it's going to be on its own website where I'm going to be compiling different one-shot stories that I submit to zines that are not necessarily related to Dark Horse, which is my free Not Safe for Work webcomic. The links for that are down in the description. And also one-shots that are not related to The Whimper in the Dark, which is also free and hosted on Tapas and Comic Theory. But I wanted to start experimenting and doing shorts that are outside of like my main storylines. So I've created a new website that's going to be just updating randomly as I submit different short stories to various zines that, again, as I said, are not related to my primary projects. So what I'm working on in the background while I answer these questions for this month is an animation. I had this idea right from the get-go that I wanted the cover and the colors to kind of change. It took me a couple hours. It took me all morning to work on this, although it was already colored, and I already shaded it the other day, like I shaded her body and stuff. I'm not shading like the rest of it. But you'll see me stumble quite a bit if you're actually watching the footage, and it's fine if you're not. I just need to have something in the background. But it was kind of hard because I wanted her glasses to be like a rainbow wheel spinning in circles, and I wanted the sun rays in the back of her in the upper left-hand corner to alternate between red and orange, and the sky to alternate between blue and yellow, as well as the mushrooms between their respective colors. And then the little circles that just have like a couple layer of different colors, I wanted them to also look like they were following a specific path. You know what I'm saying? You'll see what I mean when the whole thing is completed and I drop the GIF in at the end. But I want this to be a very experimental and fun website that I just update every now and then as I see needed. And I wanted to experiment with having like something that can only be viewed online. I mean, like, I have printed versions. I'm planning on having, like, a printed version of my zine submissions, too. But it's kind of like a bonus for people who come and visit this specific site. I wanted to have, like, some animations and stuff. I guess flashing lights warning for later on, you guys. I don't know how much flashing light causes people to be affected, but I should probably put a warning up now for that. If you are sensitive to that, you might want to skip this video because it is going to be flashing. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into the questions after that 4-minute intro. I got my notes. I write down the questions that I get in a little black notebook. I don't know what that was. So, okay, the first question that I'm going to answer is regarding... Oh, God. It's always a surprise when I open up my book because I write down the questions and then I forget about it until the Q&A. I'm so sorry, you guys. Hey, this way you're getting like my first response, you know, right? The first question is, what is Higgins waterproof black magic band? Okay, now for those of you who don't watch my videos or haven't watched the ones in the past, I made a reference to Higgins waterproof black magic band and the ink Okay, so I don't use that ink, and I think I was talking about it in the "And the Difference Is" video, where I'm comparing using technical or felt tip markers to ink versus a dip pen nib, my Saji nib that I use, and I always mispronounce Sanji. I don't know what the fuck my problem is. I'm stupid. It's Saji, it's Saji, it's Saji. And then the last thing that I was comparing was using just a regular fine-tipped paintbrush to see what the difference is between the line width. So if you want to watch that video, if I remember, I'll put it in the iCard or I'll put it down in the description. But I was just joking around. I've talked about this also on my channel before, but I don't talk about it often enough. There's a locally owned public radio station called KDHX, KDHX.org. And they have real living, breathing DJs who play just random shit depending on what the show is that hour. So there's a ska show, Ska's the Limit. There's reggae shows. There's Sleepy Time Americana, lots of those. Like, what is it? Nights at Work or something like that. I like a lot of these shows. There's the other one with Drea, which is like oftentimes like Grateful Dead like stuff. There's Time Warp Radio. There used to be Afternoon Delight, but I think the dude stopped doing it. Dangerous Curves with Sherry Danger. Oh my god, I love that show. There's the Chicken Shack with like bluegrass stuff. There's one of my favorites, Night Grooves with Orlandez. Oh my god, I love that dude. Following his show is Deep Crate Radio with DJ Iceman. All different types of genres. So it's a radio station that has real DJs. Some of them play some really weird shit, y'all, because like they find and share really cool music that's, some of it's, well known and some of it's underground. Their goal is to help propagate musicians who aren't necessarily on big labels. They play a lot of local musicians. And I was introduced to this one band, Higgins Waterproof Black Magic Band, through this radio station. And nobody else gets the inside joke because they're not, I guess they're not very well known. I thought maybe they might be more well known than that, but I was just joking around by saying that in the video. But that's a band. Let me play. I'll probably get like a strike on my channel, but let me play a little bit of the song that I specifically really like. I'm gonna have a little bit of a clip in here, and then when we come back, I will be answering the next question. Okay, in one of my other videos, one of my other Q&A videos, somebody reached out to me. I'd been talking about what books that I read, what books I read in the year 2022. I keep track of all the books that I read if I remember. Then I obviously, if I don't remember it, then I don't keep track of all of them, do I? Anyway, so I went through like my list of books, and I read I'm all over the place when it comes to like types of books. I had like science fiction, I had fantasy, I had surreal, I had nonfiction. I mostly read fiction though. But somebody had asked in response to that, what's your favorite genre? I guess I always say fantasy and sci-fi, but I guess fantasy and sci-fi, but as long as it's well written, I will read just about anything. If it's engaging, if it doesn't insult my intelligence. There's very few books that I haven't finished reading. Although the older I get, the less I want to waste time on stuff that I don't enjoy. But getting back to the question, I'm just kind of babbling right now. Sorry, I'm really tired. I'm so sorry that I sound so tired. It's just my partner's been out of town. Our dog's our older dog is not doing the best. He's kind of starting to lose his mind, so he's been a little stressful, and I'm a little tired, so I'm sorry that I sound drained. Especially since I wasn't able to get the video I was working on completed as planned. But yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, the question at hand was, what's your favorite genre? And I tend to gravitate towards fantasy and science fiction, and I know they're very different, but I like them both. They kind of get lumped in together, even though they are so very different, but I like both of them. And I'll read anything. I like fiction, I like non-fiction, I'll read historic books and stuff too sometimes. I have a background working for an historic site, so I like that kind of stuff too, but my bread and butter is fantasy, and then I'll read sci-fi too. I like mystery also. I do like mystery. I read some Martha Grimes. I like, what's her name? The one who does Poirot and Mrs. Marple. Agatha Christie. God, the one. But yeah, I think I answered that question. Next question. How do you come up with story ideas, chapter ideas? Well, boy, that's a really hard question to answer, y'all. And it's going to be a really long question to answer, but I'm not going to make a separate video on it. I'll have to abridge my answer. There's a couple ways. I, first and foremost, get very inspired by reading literature and reading comics and manga. I mean, manga and comics are the same thing. I'm just reiterating the same thing. I get influenced by film, and then I'll get an idea, and I'll be like, oh, well, I would like to reinterpret that idea. I get influenced by art. Sometimes I will see a piece and I think there's a story that could come from that artwork. So that, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. I guess I have an active imagination because every night I dream. Every night I dream. I just want to go to sleep when I go to sleep. You guys, I'm like Mitch Hedberg. It's like, I would like to dream of myself dreaming. No.
I hate to dream because dreaming takes energy. It takes work. Sleeping is supposed to be a relaxing affair. I lay down on a bed, it feels great. Next thing you know, I have to build a go-kart with my ex-landlord.
No, I would like to have a dream of myself sleeping because every night I'm working, I'm doing something. I swear I need to just zen meditate before bed and hope that thinking of nothing will help me not dream. But, yeah, I have a pretty active imagination, so a lot of times when I'm writing, for instance, Dark Horse, I will get, I'll try to, play the idea that I have, the scene out and the dialogue and the characters acting back and forth. I'll play it in my head, if that makes sense. I know that sounds probably insane, but I grew up in the country, so, my cousins and I, especially my younger cousin, I should say. My older cousin, we didn't really do this, but my younger cousin and I, we used to pretend to be Robin Hood and Maid Marian. I always had to be Robin Hood. She always got to be Maid Marian. But, so we would have, these scenarios that we would play out as kids. And even though I'm an adult now, I can still very clearly, play entire scenes and scenarios out in my mind, and then I will write it down, and then as I go back and edit and judge whether or not something is still relevant or something that I want to express in the comic, then I might edit or add as needed. But yeah, I literally will play scenes out in my head when I'm alone. I'm watching a little soap opera in my head, yo. I don't know how else to explain it. It sounds kind of crazy, I know, but that's how I do it. I don't know if that's gonna help anyone else out. Regarding the chapter ideas, I try to keep chapters a certain length, and I try to fit I try to write down what needs to be accomplished in a chapter, and then I work the scene out from there, and then you start the thumbnail and the story, the scripting, the thumbnails, the storyboarding, whatever. And that's how I work on it. I don't know if any of that made sense. This is why I'm not a teacher, y'all. Alright, I'm gonna answer one more question. What made you choose dip pens over digital art and brushes or markers? I talked about it in that same video I was referencing earlier, the difference is. When I started working on my comic, as anyone does, as a kid, I started with crayons and colored pencils and shit like that. But then I moved on to, when I was older, I was using graphite and then uniball pens and ballpoint pens and stuff, and it became very apparent that I was smearing and they didn't scan in well, and they were hard to screen tone and color the way that I do the screen toning and color, since I don't do it with the physical medium. And I needed a crisper line. And in addition to that, let's back it up a little bit. In addition to that, I like the felt point pens, but there's things about them that I don't like. Like, they aren't always like as moist as I feel like they should be. So sometimes they'll like skip with the ink a little bit, if that makes sense. Especially if there's oil on the paper, which as someone who is inexperienced, I would have problems like that quite a bit. And also, I didn't really buy a lot of those. I wasn't really sure where to get those because I never really go to I didn't used to really go to art supply stores very often. But I actually kind of started with the felt point pens in addition to the dip pen with like the Faber-Castell, I don't know how it's pronounced. And I really liked those, and I used those quite a bit with my comic, but I wanted to force myself to learn how to use the dip pen. And I started not on the Saji nib, but on another nib that was in the Speedball pack that I bought. It was just like a multi-pack of pen nibs, and it kind of looks like the Saji nib, but it's shaped a little bit differently. I don't know the technical term. I looked it up before and I forget what it was. And I still use it to this day. I've been using it on this Christina Cool comic that I'm working on. But I started using that one because I wanted to, one, kind of mimic the manga style. I know that tools don't always make it, and not everyone in manga uses that. But I wanted to kind of force myself to learn so that I could get good with it. Also, I feel like the materials overall cost less. Like, you buy a thing of ink and it's gonna last a heck of a lot longer than the tubes of technical pencils or felt point markers or whatever you want to call them. And then also, once I finally started learning how to do it, I really liked it. Now, why, as opposed to digital, why don't I use digital? Well, I mean, I'm pushing 40 now, and I didn't grow up with like the ability to use tablets, and two, I could and would learn how to do things digitally, and I do a little bit with my mouse whenever I go to do line cleanup, but I don't have a tablet, so anytime I need to draw anything, I gotta do it with the mouse. And I know that it's possible for people to learn how to draw well with a mouse, but I've yet to learn how to do that. I've gotten more control over it, I'm better, but I haven't really wanted to push myself. It's quicker since I've got a timeline, I've got deadlines and stuff. It's just quicker to do it traditionally. Now, I also like the tangibility. I like having something that I can work with. I really like using traditional mediums because there's stuff that I can feel. But we're saving for a tablet, so I'm not like adverse to digital art. I love digital art. I think digital artists are amazing. It's just a different medium, and I use digital for coloring and fixing things up here and there. So it's not like I'm against it. It's just I don't have the tool that I feel would help me better draw. I really have to have a pen or a stylus in my hand, and I had a little cheap $30 tablet. It wasn't like you could look at the tablet. It was just one of those pads and you had to look at the screen, and my mind could not. I disconnected. I tried, and I was just like, I don't want to learn doing it this way, and so I gave up. I would rather get just a tablet that I can look at and draw. Because my time, again, the older you get, the less time you really feel like you have to waste on. Not that you shouldn't learn new things when you're older, but if you've got something that you want to do and get completed, you gotta invest your time where you want to invest your time. And I didn't see the benefit in having to learn how to use the tiny pad versus the actual pad, like a Wacom or Wacom, however it's pronounced, like a Wacom larger pad that you can actually look and see your line as you're drawing. I don't see the benefit of learning from the little one, even though it was cheaper. We're just going to save our money. I'm in no hurry. And once we've got enough, I will eventually buy it and start working on some things digitally. So I hope that answers the question. It kind of gives you a timeline of kind of how I progressed, because we really didn't have access to tablets and stuff. Like, I drew and colored and stuff in Paint Show for fun with like the 3 colors you used to have. No, Julius. But yeah, never really anything that I would want to present to the world. So I think that answers the question. I think I've belabored that question enough. I'm gonna have more energy next week, y'all. It's just this has been a very, very busy and stressful week. You can even hear the dog barking in the background. Give me attention, give me attention. I gotta go give him attention. And then I gotta finish this video. Oh my god, because I'm doing this the day of. Okay. I'm so sorry I'm losing my mind. Oh my god, I need my partner to come back. We're way too codependent. Alright, see y'all next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. Peace and love. Fare you well. And keep on trucking.